Now we're live. Hey, folks, it's Painfully Honest podcast. Welcome back for episode 11, I think it is. I started to keep count, and then I forgot what the count was. So I'm just going to say 11. So tonight we got a really special guest with us. We got the one, the only Dom Esposito in the house. He's going to be talking with us all things tech, plus maybe some other stuff. Dom, go ahead and introduce yourself.
How's it going?
Good,
nice to be here. Thank you. I know it's been like a while since like we were talking about this, and now it's finally happening. I had like so much stuff going on at once. But
I know you just moved.
Yeah. Like I moved out of my office, and I'm moving out of state in like a couple of months, and like I had a dog pass away. So there's like so many things that were happening like all at once, and it was really difficult to coordinate this. So I'm sorry for the delay.
No, man, it's totally cool. It's totally cool. I completely understand. In fact, we had a cat that we had to put to sleep a few weeks ago. So I feel your pain on that one. We've had like crazy pet drama.
Yeah.
So we have too many pets is part of the drama. But
right
now we had 2 cats and 3 dogs, and now we have 1 cat and 3 dogs. So it's it's tough. It's tough to let go. But So I just want to start out, and we're going to get to live chat comments here in a little bit, but I just wanted to get some Dom info out there, kind of talk maybe a little bit about some tech stuff, and see where it takes us. So the first question that I really have, and I love origin stories. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got to YouTube, and then how you got to where you are on YouTube?
So it's a long, like the actual explanation is kind of lengthy. But basically it goes like I was, for quite a long time, I was an audio engineer, and I did that, interned at a bunch of studios, worked at a bunch of studios. And so I did that for a while, and then I left that and I got a job in radio. And in radio, I was doing a lot of imaging and voiceover work and stuff like that. And the job that I had at the time, this was about 2011. It was really slow paced, and so I would just do voiceover VOs when they would come in. I would get an email and say, "Hey, we need this kind of bed." A bed is a music track that goes under anything basically. So if people don't know, we need this kind of bed. We want these kind of stabs or imaging or whatever, and here's the script. So as those would come in, I would do them, but it was at the time where I was in the department I was in, it was very, very slow. So I started making YouTube videos in that time, mostly just like screencast stuff on how to do like certain audio production things, or like, right. I don't know, there was a point in time where Pro Tools would not install on Lion, on Mac OS Lion, and it was a huge deal. So I made a tutorial about how to install Pro Tools on Lion, and it like blew up, and like, at the time it blew up. I mean, in like where I was then, I had no videos. So, 40,000 was blowing up,
Right. So like what year was this just about?
2000, somewhere between 2010 and 2011.
Yeah.
Cool. And so dropped my water. I just started doing more of that. I don't know. I was just bored. Basically, I was bored sitting in my little prod room at the station, and I would just like, okay, here's how to tune your vocals with Melodyne, or like, here's how to, master a vocal track, or just random stuff like that. And then one day, I had gotten an iPhone 4 or 4 or 4S, I had an iPhone 4 actually is what it was. And when the iPhone 4S launched, that was like a big deal because we had iMessage for the first time, I believe. And I did a video on how to use iMessage, and that one just straight took off like insane for me at the time. And so I was like, hey, there's a lot more people watching this than were watching my audio stuff. So I just started doing more tech centric videos from that point on, and that was it. Yeah.
Right. And 400 something thousand subscribers later, here you are.
It's just weird, you know, how that kind of thing evolves. Cause like I was never expecting like for anything to turn into, I mean, I was just like, an engineer working in radio. Like, come on, you know?
Well, and your story is like strangely familiar to mine. I mean, I started out as a musician and did a lot of audio engineering as well. And then I came out to Iowa to go to grad school for writing. And I just, you know, when the PS4 came out, I had never had a gaming headset. So I wanted to play with my buddy Curtis. He's in Buffalo. So I went to the Best Buy and I got some kind of Turtle Beach headset, and it was a piece of total crap. So I just basically made a video talking about what a piece of crap this was. And I called it a reboxing video.
You were going to return it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just kind of went off on it. And next thing I knew, like you said, you know, 20, 30,000 people had watched it. And I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah. Right.
So I kept doing the gaming headsets. And then when that started to, because I think gaming headsets are more on like a 2-year cycle as opposed to a 1-year cycle. You don't get new ones all the time. So I started looking for other things to review, and I hit the iPhone 8 and iPhone 10, and things just went crazy. So that's
it.
I mean, I know if you're somebody hoping to get into YouTube out there and you're listening to this, it's probably not very practically helpful.
Yeah, I mean, people ask that question though all the time. They're like, well, how do you do this? Like, I'm like, honestly, if I knew the roadmap, I'd have 5 other channels like this. You know what I mean? Like, there are techniques and things that you pick up along the way, but if you want to start, you got to start.
Right.
You want to put videos on YouTube, well, then put a video on YouTube.
Well, yeah.
From there.
In fact, I just made a video the other day that said
I saw that.
Maybe it was yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I think I heard somebody the other day talking about being a singer, being a musician, and how that, you know, you hustle and you try and get stuff out there, and you're trying to get the gigs you want to get and all that kind of stuff. But it's always been kind of a thing where you have to wait for somebody to say, you're good enough for me to want to give you money to make a record, you know? Yeah. And in the past 10 years, that's like really turned on its head. And you can have an amazing studio setup in your house for $10,000 or less, you know?
Yeah.
Like $10,000, you can really do some damage. And the thing that I loved about YouTube, that always intrigued me about YouTube, and maybe was part of why I wanted to make videos, is just the barrier to entry was zero. Like, have a camera. You know,
I didn't even have a camera when I started. Like, I had screencast software, and that's what I used. And like, even to build on top of that, one of the very first videos that I made, where my hands and like actually life was in it and not just a screencast, was an unboxing video of some Fostex studio monitors.
Oh yeah.
And it's on, they're PM.0s, I think. They had them in like 5 different colors or something.
Right.
It's on, I have another channel where that video is actually on, but I shot it with, I like rubber band. I used a bunch of rubber bands, and I stuck my iPhone 4 on the top of like a mic stand pointing down. And I just did it like that. Like that was a setup.
I use a lot of mic stands.
Yeah. Yep. That's all I had. I didn't have tripods. I had mic stands.
Yeah. I've got I've lots of stuff like clamped to mic stands or taped to mic stands, or I found something that would adapt to a mic stand. You know, usually for my overhead B-roll shot, I'll use like a, you know, one of the cheap phone holders and a mic stand. I don't know. Maybe I'd enjoy some kind of more stable overhead rig or something, but I've got like 20 mic stands here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just use that. But I mean, I think that's absolutely the thing. You know, what I was trying to say yesterday in my video was there's no barrier. Like everybody these days has a smartphone, and if you have a smartphone, I mean, I made that video on my Samsung S9 Plus, which of course is a very nice smartphone, but all I did was like put it up, use the mic that was there, and I just wanted to do it that way to sort of be like the object lesson. Like I'm doing it this way right now.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm getting. You know, I cleaned up the audio a little bit with, you know, Premiere Pro has those dialogue presets or whatever. So I just laid one of those onto it. But I don't think I really even needed to do that. The audio wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising what you can use, and honestly, like, I mean, I have like, you know, like I have like good, like I guess what I would consider to be good cameras and like less expensive ones too, and like I switch them between them all the time, and nobody ever notices the difference, you know?
Right.
Like just sometimes the smaller camera that I have is much more convenient for what I'm doing, but nobody ever knows. It's not.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's just as long as you're just doing something, people aren't going to care.
Yeah, I mean, I had the I was sort of flabbergasted when I saw like Marquez Brownlee with the $50,000 red camera that he's shooting in 8K for YouTube, and I was like, what? that's a lot.
I mean, you know, the thing is though, is like it's kind of like if you're like into collecting guitars or
exactly.
Like, I mean, I have a pretty nice Gibson SG that I rarely play, and I like it. It's just, you know, it's just a thing that I like. And like cameras, you know, like some people are into cars. Some people bury thousands of dollars into souping up their car that they'll leave in the garage and never drive.
Yeah.
And some people are into cameras, and some people are into weird stuff too. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's the geek factor where you're just like, you know, I think this stuff is cool. So I've got and I realize that's probably most of what it is with those guys.
Well, and outside of that too, like for me anyway, is I do a lot of like video stuff for other companies. Not like as far as like I'm like the face of their product or something, you know what I mean? And so I'm doing stuff, and so they expect a certain level of quality too, you know, and if I'm doing stuff like outside of that, or if I ever want to venture off, like let's say YouTube crashes and burns tomorrow, I have a video production company at the snap of a finger, because I have everything that I need, all the equipment any video production company would have. I have it now, and so I can easily transition into that if I needed to. And that's another part of the reason why, like, we're, you know, as YouTube people, as content creators, we're building businesses. Like quite literally building businesses. I mean, for the last 3 years, I've had an office and an employee and a business, like an actual business. It's learning how to run a business when you're, you know. So, well,
it's funny because in some ways I've, you know, and I'm just at the very beginning stages of growing on YouTube to the point where it really does become something that, like, I still have my day job and I love my day job. I'm a teacher. I work at a university. It's great, but I also really enjoy like this stuff. I can just sit and geek out on trying to get YouTube stuff going for hours. And it's sort of funny because I was the de facto manager of my band for, you know, however many years we were together, and we put out 2 records and did a bunch of tours and everything like that. But the one thing that I didn't do that I knew I should have, and I just never got there, was incorporate the band as a separate entity. And so I racked up some debt for making a record. We got to make a record on like crazy equipment, like the Neve board from Air Studios London that this guy bought and refurbished. It was, I just I was geeking out about everything that we were going to be able to use on this record, but I ended up like, a bunch of thousands of dollars were in the hole, and and the band wasn't doing the band anymore. So, and well, we had 9/11 happen like right after we released our second record, and it just, it wasn't a good time. But the first thing that I did once I started to see that I was going to make even a little bit of money on YouTube was start a limited liability company. So that was key for me I just was like, I don't want to make that mistake again. Now I've got a wife and a daughter and a family and the whole deal. And so,
well, and there's also a side story that kind of relates to that on like the origin of what I was doing, is because at first I had a website, and when I was doing all these audio things, I had a website, macmixing.com, because I was mixing music on a Mac. That's where the whole name came from, if nobody ever knows about that. So I had macmixing.com, and I was embedding the videos that I uploaded to YouTube on my website. I didn't care at all what was happening on YouTube. I just knew if I put something on YouTube, I could embed it somewhere else. And that's all I cared about. Like, I didn't even notice the comments or anything. I wasn't paying attention to subscribers or any of that stuff for like a while. I was just putting it on my website, and I was blogging on this website that I had. And when I started that, like when I started the website, because I knew that back then blogs were a lot more of a thing than they are now. Back then, that's crazy that it's only 7 years ago, but it's so much has changed since then. And I had a partner, and he was like, "Hey, you got to make this into an LLC." And I was like, "Okay." So we went and did that, and I had a 50-50 partner when I first started this. That's a whole nother story, and I ended up buying him out for like $500. But yeah, it did the same thing that you did. It went straight, and we started that, so everything was like totally protected.
Yeah,
best choice you kids can make.
I know. Don't think about first start and then make a limited liability company.
Yeah.
So LLC is your friend. And the whole process for me was weird. Like, I live in Iowa, and I had to physically like write an incorporation letter myself and fold it up and mail it with a check to the Secretary of State of the state of Iowa.
That's crazy.
And I didn't hear anything back for like 2 months. And then and then it came back right after the holidays, and they said, you didn't send a check, and we did send a check. So it was just very bizarre, but I eventually got it taken care of, and that's all good to go at this point. But
so now you just get a business line of credit, and you get that 8K red, and you just doesn't matter anymore.
It's
not your liability.
I know. Well, that's kind of it. I didn't know until it was offered to me that PayPal actually does business loans, like small business loans. And they offered me something last week, and I was like, there are several things that I've been planning to get that I could get if I had this money.
Yeah.
So I was just like, it's interesting because they take 20% of your PayPal sales. And that's how you pay it back. So
you're like, I don't have PayPal sales.
Well, I do sell a bunch of stuff on eBay.
Oh, okay.
So I've gone through all different kinds of computer setups, musical instruments, et cetera. Like, I used eBay. I've been an eBay member since like 2001, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't do it all the time, and I don't do it like as a business, but I do it enough that PayPal was like, "Hey, you've got money coming through your account." So
I mean, I wouldn't recommend that anybody go out and get a loan to start making YouTube videos.
No, not to start. No.
Or anything. Like, even, I mean, I feel like just like, I'm sure even in like, since you were doing the headsets to now, like everything that you've accomplished through this is so much more gratifying when you've done it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean,
and you learn so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny that it incorporates all the stuff that I've done, whether it be like music engineering or, writing stuff. I used to, I've worked at newspapers and all different kinds of things. So you learn things in those fields that are totally applicable to this, but
Yeah.
something like YouTube is never, like you said, and for me, I was just like, well, it's here, and I'm not going out as much at night, so I'll just do these videos and play video games with my friends.
Dude,
And
I've always said that YouTube is everything that I was ever and am ever good at compiled into one career.
yeah,
Like it is, I've never found anything that takes audio production and graphic design and meshes them.
exactly.
Like what?
Yeah, yeah. I that's the funny thing. I've been a graphic designer. I've been a proofreader, copy editor. Worked as a copy desk editor for a newspaper for a while. The newspaper that I delivered as a 12-year-old when I moved back to my hometown for a brief time. And I mean, the newspaper job was fun because every day was like a puzzle. You get a certain number of pages to put together, and then you just have to make everything fit that they say has to go on there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about making YouTube videos. It's like all the cuts, all the different things that you have to figure out how to do to make it look like something worth watching.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Well, I do. And for me, like learning how to edit videos was like no problem because I was like such, no pun intended, an avid Pro Tools user.
very funny.
And I was such a Pro Tools user. And it was, for me, it was just like, oh, so this is Pro Tools with a video clip on it. Like that's
right.
That's what I looked at it as when I first started learning Premiere, because it's like almost exactly the same. You have your track mix window, like you have your edit window. It's all the same, and that blew my mind and now it makes sense why it would be the same. But at the time, I was like, wow, does everybody know how easy this is? Like, I was so amazed that it was just so similar to audio editing.
I think I still edit videos as if I'm editing audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I focus on the waveforms more than I do the thumbnail of the video.
Yeah, I never look at the video when I'm editing. I'm looking at like where I'm making the cuts is in is in the audio waveform. And
well, I don't need to look at my face for 3 hours.
No. Nobody needs to look at anybody's face for 3 hours. I certainly don't want to look at mine. So let's pivot now to some tech stuff. We've got a couple of questions in that were questions that I was gonna hit on. So what's your? I just filmed my review of the new iPad. What are your thoughts on this new, cheaper iPad?
I don't have one. I didn't buy one. It's the same price as the new cheaper iPad that launched last year, right about this time. And it's basically the same shell with upgraded internals. So basically the difference that you'll notice between the last year's cheap iPad and this year's cheap iPad is absolutely nothing until iOS gets slower and slower in about a few years.
Right.
My opinion. Because it's still not laminated display. It's still got that little air gap. It's got the 3 colors. I mean, it's got the A10 or whatever, like cool, but honestly,
when I did my sort of thoughts video when it was first announced, I said it had the A10. I think I said it had the A10 Fusion or whatever it is, and many people in the comments were kind enough to let me know that it's not it's just the A10. It's but the one thing that I think is really important about it or cool about it is the pencil support.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, but honestly, that's like so ridiculous because let's be real here. They could put the Apple Pencil support on the iPhone. And it's just a software thing. Like there's no hardware there that's like actually making it. I mean, they say there is, and there probably is an aspect to it, but for the most part, it's software.
Yeah. And I don't know, and they aren't telling like what any of that is. But I mean, if you take it at face value, they say it's for the education market mainly. or at least that they're refocusing on the education market with this iPad. Like, I think that's a great thing. I've been active in the education community here in my area. Ran for school board twice and lost twice. But one thing that I know is, like, there are plenty of people, like, everybody normalizes what they think about their life with, like, what is normal to them, but there's so many people who the kids have to go to school these days and they have to have access to Google, and all the Google Docs, Google Sheets, all that stuff. And education now is, like, so much predicated on being able to access the internet and access a device. And I think it's a step in the right direction if that's where Apple's really going to focus, to me.
Well, see, my thing that is kind of annoying is they're like, oh, this new iPad's for education, and education partners save $30 on this new iPad. You know what? If I go to the Apple store right now, I have a business account there and I get 10% off anything.
Right.
I save $30 too on that iPad. So who's really getting a good deal here? Because I feel like the school should get like half price. Like, realistically, like they'll still make a profit if they sold it for half the price. And so many schools would have iPads. And so I believe, that's a really important thing. Like, all schools implement Google Docs now. Like that's all you need. And it's free and it's easy to use, and you can access it on, kids can edit papers on their cell phones. It's ridiculous.
I know my daughter does everything on Google. She turns in all of her assignments. She does all the stuff that she needs to do on that. And it's also very secure. So, and it's tied to something that, well, she has a school district Google account, but she has her own, like, Gmail Google account too.
Yeah.
But, that's something that could be like your educational, like, stockpile, everything that you've done since you were in 7th grade, 6th grade, whatever. So I don't know, like, you're right. If Apple really wanted to be altruistic, they could say, you know what, we're just going to charge you cost on this.
They could go Oprah on the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just give everybody free iPads.
Yeah. Well, that would help them corner that education market.
Yeah. You would think, like, right. It's not like they're just like, I don't know, people would probably complain or whatever, but I feel like if they gave, like, they have enough money to where they could give, like, schools that are at a certain level of, like, whatever, the standards that they rate schools at, they could give them all like 50 iPads and be no big deal.
Yeah. Well, I would say that one thing that I got really involved in was the differences between schools where you have middle class and upper middle class families, and the parents are much more engaged in the education, and it's just a totally different kind of experience. Mm-hmm. Whereas, people in lower income situations aren't able to be as well. They probably, A, didn't have very good experiences in school, and B, they might be working second and third shift jobs, and they can't be as active in their kids' education. Like, I would love to try and convince Apple to say, like, for these schools that need this extra help, like, gee, it would be nice if they had an iPad for every student.
Yeah, it would be great. Like, it would change a lot, and, like, schools are getting really crappy.
I know. They're, like, just the whole defunding of education. Like, I could get really deep into this and sort of rant, but
I get it. And it's like they're defunding all of the education, yet how many people are buried in student loan debt? What?
Oh, man, I don't even want to talk about student loan.
Where does what? Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I feel like one could cancel out the other really easily.
Yeah, it's like student loans are the new indenturement. It's like you get stuck underneath those student loans. You don't realize that when you're 17 or 18 years old what you're getting into. I think it's probably better now, but when I started college in 1989, and that was just the time when loans were becoming more of a thing. More people were taking them out, and I was a first generation college student. So I was like, I'll take whatever. Give it to me.
I did that too. Though, even in, this was like the mid 2000s or like 2004 or whatever. And I was just like, hey, you want to give me all this money? Let's do it, And so it was a bad idea.
Yeah, I know. Well, the most difficult thing about it is if they would have done some like onboarding, some counseling, like, so Jason, what is it that you think you want to do? I want to be a rock star. Maybe you shouldn't take out these loans.
Yeah, right. I mean,
because all the money that I had for 10, 15 years of my life, was going back into my passion. And I was doing everything that I could to kind of keep the student loans just sort of percolating behind. And that was a bad thing to do. But at the same time, like, I'm locked into an 8% interest rate for the rest of my life. So.
No, yeah, I mean, in some ways like that, you can't complain. And like, honestly, like, I feel like I wouldn't say that everybody should go to college, but I feel like there's a good experience to be had there.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely the place where, even though I was going to college in my hometown at West Virginia University, still like a major university, and I just got in front of so many different ideas and different people, read so many books, and and just experienced so much that it changed who I was.
Yeah.
So it's not for everybody, for sure, but at the same time, if you can do it, and like, never go into college thinking like, I'm going to college for this, like, because the students that I work with now, I mean, they're med students, and they've been on that train for a long time.
I mean, I started out and went to college for psychology.
Yeah.
And then that, the rest is all, I went into so many different other places. Like,
yeah, definitely. Another question I saw coming through the chat was, what is your I hate this phrase.
Daily driver.
Yes. I haven't been able to figure out anything else to say. Daily phone, I guess.
The facts are that I typically have the latest iPhone and like whatever Android phone that I'm reviewing in my pockets all the time. But if I were to give somebody my phone number and they were to call me, it's going to this guy, iPhone 10. So that's, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I have a very specific procedure when I'm reviewing like phones, because I don't like to take, I don't always like to take out my SIM card and put it in another phone and deal with all that. So like what I do is I will split my time. Like when I'm reviewing a phone, everything that I'm doing, like if I need to look up something or if I need to, regular using my phone, I'm using that other phone. If I make a call on this phone, I have to make an equally amount of time call on the other one, just to make it like my real life,
Right.
So there's like a strategy there. But yeah, I mean, since the iPhone, I'm just caught in this whole Apple ecosystem.
Yeah, and I've been more of an Apple user than not over the years. But right now I'm rocking the S9 Plus, and with the Alcantara case, it's so smooth and silky.
Yeah.
And this is probably the first Samsung device that hasn't pissed me off.
It's great, man. I love that phone.
Yeah, but yeah, the way that I try and do it is, I basically say, okay, I got the phone, I'm going to use it as my phone for X number of days, and then I'll start carrying both, and then I'll switch back and forth between which one I use. And I have my number forwarded to the other phone if I'm using the other phone, like my regular number. So SMS is kind of messed up, but it's not that big a deal. I now have what I call my business account,
Yeah.
where it's like, so I just had to get separated from the family stuff because last year I wanted to cover as many phones as I could, and nobody was giving them to me. So
Yeah.
I had to really get creative with how to do that. And it got to the place where the family account was getting a little messed up.
Yeah, no, I remember at the time when I really started reviewing phones, and like when I was like, okay, I want to review smartphones. I had like 3 or 4 lines on Verizon that I had contracts that were offset enough so that every year I could get a new phone.
Right.
I had them. It was so messed up. Like, I know what you're talking. I know the strategies and like those things. It's so messed up, and I had to like really like play the field as far as like figuring out when the upgrade cycle was going to be versus like an iPhone launch or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, it's
yeah. My problem got to be where I had I think I had like 6 or 7 open lines on the family account that I could just like, if I could pay off a phone, then I could get another phone and just kind of go on that cycle. But still, the bill was like going through the roof, and it was just insane. So I'm trying to bring that down under control. But that was the thing, like I knew that when the video started taking off, I kind of knew that, okay, I've got an opportunity here. Like I got to figure out a way to make this work so that I can do as much as I can with this opportunity when, it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I wanted to tell you that, like, you gave me a shout out on your Twitter account, and I gained 1,400 new subscribers that day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
I do appreciate it, man. I mean, there was that time when the iPhone 10 was really, really hot and everybody wanted to know about it, that I just caught a wave, and and now I'm trying to figure out how to do that on a regular basis,
Like seriously though, since I remember right around then you had just like barely reaching 20,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And in like what, 6 months, you've already doubled that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah. Well, when the whole thing started, I had like 5,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And then by the time everything started going, it just was like going crazy. And I've been in the entertainment creativity world for a long time.
Yeah.
And never had an experience like that where all of a sudden everything is just going more insane than I could ever imagine it could go.
It is insane how that happens, man. It's just like there's like I feel like really there's just somebody at Google that has a button and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then they pause it for a little bit and they're like, and then he's been patient enough.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, I know. It's like I try and do all the things, like, try and reverse engineer the algorithm, blah, 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 all that stuff. But it's all still just like, it's like sticks and bones.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not anything. But yeah. So I guess I'm interested, since you come from an audio background, like, what's your favorite kind of gear? Because I know that I kind of go back and forth. I love the tech stuff. I love the phones. I love computers. But then I also go on these binges for audio stuff.
My favorite kind of gear, I mean, I can't like define it to like one category. So like I like, as far as like audio stuff, I love tubes. Nothing beats tubes, like real tubes.
Yeah.
Not software, not this, emulated crap. Like actual tubes are awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
anything with a tube in it is great. I'm fine with that. Like some of the older like UA stuff was really awesome.
Yeah,
and of course, like I'm a huge fan of 5150 amp. I
saw the EVH back there.
Yeah. I mean, that's nothing. I had an original 5150 at one point. I regret getting rid of it. That one's okay, but the OG one was top notch. It was amazing. But then as far as like tech gear goes, I mean, it'd have to be like camera stuff, and like I like drones and I like cameras.
Right. Yeah, I think for me it's computers and music stuff. I love phones, but phones are they cycle through so quickly that I almost feel like I don't get to take the time to really use a phone the way that the average person would use it.
No, it's really difficult, like really difficult to do that. And it's almost impossible, I think. But yeah, the thing with music gear, if you buy a great quality piece of music gear today, it'll be worth the same, if not more, 10 to 20 years, 50 years down the road. Like good, solid audio gear never loses value ever.
Right.
Like, well, I mean, you know, the older stuff, like this UA Arrow that I have probably lose value in like 10 years, but you know, like the tube amps and compressors and things like that, like really like nice quality music gear.
Right.
Pretty consistent.
Yeah. I went from, I had an analog 24 channel board and like a Mo2 828 Mark II, and I was doing like full on analog stuff. And then I went completely into the computer. And now I just bought another 24 channel mixing board. My dream was always, I wanted a mixing board that also acted as a interface.
Yeah.
And I found this Soundcraft has made these boards now that not only do they take 24 channels in, but they'll put them back on the board in line.
Yeah. So I was like that. I saved up a shit ton of money and I got a 002 board. Right. And I was like so proud of that thing, dude, because it was just like, at the time it was fairly new, and I was just so happy and so proud that I had something that was exactly that. It was a board and it was an interface.
Right.
And I graduated from like an M box, like the old like blue M boxes to that. And I was like so happy. It was the best thing and I had this like studio desk and stuff. It's in one of my office tours, like from a long time ago on the channel. Those things are awesome.
Yeah. Eugene, my friend, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. I've talked about YouTubers that have done things that kind of bother me from time to time, but I don't dislike anybody per se. So I don't know if I have an answer for that. And I don't know if we should answer that.
I don't have an answer. I mean, the thing is, it's like, can I really, like, who am I to hate on somebody? You know what I mean? Like, I have enough problems of my own. I can't be hating on other people.
And I mean, I've criticized people for individual videos or like stuff like that, but mostly because of the choices that they made, and yet I'm still subscribed to all the people that I might have criticized. You know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's one thing to rant about something. That's that happens.
Right. So let's pivot and see what kind of questions we got here. Timothy Baxter, these are the Sennheiser HD600s, which are my favorite headphone of life. So Vaughn Roby asked Dom, are the Corsairs that you're using any good?
These guys, I mean, they're working right now. They have hold on, let me find it. They're made for gaming. and they're made for gaming and also regular use. And so they have this little microphone that will attach onto the side here, I believe. Mm-hmm. And you can use them. They're specifically made like around Xbox, hence the green color scheme on here. So you can use them for Xbox. I mean, I think they're all right. Like obviously, like, you know, how much quality are you going to get out of this little crappy mic? Like you gotta think about that. But I mean, they're nice headphones. I feel like it's not rocket science to make like a decent like gaming headset. They're, you know, they have like they have the traditional like scoop EQ on them. I mean, like that's how they are. You know, you either love that or you hate them. I think they're all right. They're pretty cheap too. I think they're, I don't know, like $50 or something like that. Really not that bad of a price. But yeah, I don't know. I use them for just random things like this. So if that tells you anything. I don't game a whole lot, so I don't really use them for I don't game a ton. I have all these consoles. I used to be a hardcore Call of Duty player, like all the time, like every day for hours. And then I started doing all this, and then I feel like I get antsy if I'm just sitting there playing a game. I can't sit there long enough anymore.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I mean, I was Battlefield was the game, Battlefield 4 that I got into playing with my buddy Curtis, and then we met some people, and then we joined a clan, and you know all that stuff.
yeah.
And I would play that game, you know, at least 3 or 4 times a week for several hours. But then as the YouTube stuff got busier, I had that same feeling of like, if I sit and play a game for 2 hours, like I feel like I should be doing something else. But I have decided that I'm going to spend some time gaming.
I mean, it's important because like this YouTube thing, it's really, really easy to get wrapped up into what you're enjoying and then you working. Like, and so like, you know, to me, I'm just sitting here having the time of my life. To everybody else, it just looks like I'm always working. So it's good to have those kind of things to break that up.
Yeah, and for me, it's just I do so. I'm a writer. I have a novel that I've got pretty much finished. I have to go through like the final draft of it and shape it up a little bit. I still write songs, and so I'm trying to get a setup going here where all of those things can happen. Like all my audio stuff is over here.
Yeah,
the cameras are in front of me and behind me. You know, and just try and be disciplined about getting into that work. But you know, sometimes you just got to play. So I've been trying out PUBG.
Oh yeah, Fortnite's the new thing now. PUBG's old news.
I know, but I don't like cartoony games. That's part of my
You
problem.
made a comment about that on Twitter the other day. You're like, is something or was it you that said you're gonna go play a cartoon or something like that? Or
I don't remember saying anything like that.
Somebody else said it then. I thought it was you, but it wasn't. It was funny. Like it's just funny that you said the exact same thing though. Like, because that's kind of, you know, it's got that style or whatever.
Yeah, and I have it on PS4. You know, got it for free, and I know that some of my friends have been playing it on and off. I just haven't gotten on the PS4 for a long time.
Yeah,
that was like my console of choice, and I have a hard time sitting down in front of the TV. So I'm sitting in front of my computer most of the time, so I can just, you know, go to a game and spend a half an hour, whatever. So Tech for Your Needs, what are you asking here? How Tech for Your Needs is asking how long it took to learn DSLR, like camera editing, all that kind of stuff, and get comfortable using it.
It's still happening. I mean, like I would say I'm still getting comfortable using it all. And like, you know, I mean, I started with an iPhone. I went from an iPhone, recording with an iPhone, to a Canon T2i, to a Canon T3i, to a Canon 5D Mark III, to a GH4, to the Sony FS7, to the 5D Mark IV, then now to the C200. So I've went through 8 different cameras over the last 7 years, or 8 different filming devices, and I'm still like, it's a never-ending thing, you know. It's like you're always, it's just like an instrument. You're always learning something new about it, or you know, a new scale, a new chord, a new way to do something on the camera. Like, I don't know, I don't think I'll ever be done with that.
Yeah, well, and that's a good point. Like, I'm more comfortable doing things that I was way not comfortable with when I started, but I still know that, like, I don't know how to use the editing programs the way that they're supposed to be used. There's probably a lot of stuff that would be a lot easier if I actually just took a course in Premiere and learned how I should do it, because I'm not very, I know what I want to do, but I've never like taken any course like that or anything to learn how to do it the way that it's intended to be done. I just make it up myself, which is totally backwards.
And so sometimes it's backwards, and sometimes it makes more work for yourself. But then, like, sometimes you make new, better things that you wouldn't have thought of by just taking stuff into your own hands, you know, like that.
Yeah. Well, and there are some times where there are things that I know can be done, but I also know that there's like a whole process to it.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the program to do. So I just, like, you know, I use all kinds of little jump cuts, and I know that I'm not using jump cuts the right way, but I like the way they look. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, do you like what you're watching? You know, like, are you making content that you would like to watch? And if the answer is yes, then it doesn't matter how you got there.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So Mark, I'm not gonna butcher that. Yeah. So Mark S. Taylor.
Yeah.
Am I going to do a camera test with the S9? More than just a few photos? Yeah. In fact, I'm going out of town tomorrow. We're going up to Madison, Wisconsin, to see a show, the Afghan Wigs and Built to Spill, and I'm going to try and take some photos while we're traveling and see what we can get from low light from the gig and all that kind of stuff. And I'll put out a little camera test. Like, the iPhone 10 and the S9 Plus are what I've got right now, so I'll just compare the two of those. So,
yeah, I haven't actually done like a thorough iPhone or Galaxy S9 camera test yet. I just had so many other things going. I hadn't had a chance. I mean, I've tested it personally. Like, it's an awesome camera. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I can't just put that in like a 20-second video and it be acceptable among my peers.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, guys, it's amazing. It's amazing. I took a few photos with it. It's good.
And that's basically been the extent of my camera test. You know, because I'm not a big camera guy. What I know about cameras, I learned because I wanted to do this stuff, you know, and so I guess I want to get better at doing the camera portions of phone reviews, but at the same time, like, I don't want to do what everybody else does. So I'm still in the process of trying to figure out how I can do it differently and give people what they want out of a camera review from a phone.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So maybe pictures of rock and roll shows will work.
Right. Yeah. To respond to Tarek, his or her comment.
Yeah.
That was basically, I would see that comment on every single video of 2017.
Oh my God.
Like, literally, if you go look at every video I've put up last year, there's at least one comment referencing that song.
Mm-hmm.
On my that song was the worst thing that ever happened to my YouTube channel.
That song is the worst thing that ever happened to a lot of things.
I mean, this is true also. Yeah.
It's the worst thing that ever happened to my ears. No, I have to. So my daughter is 14 now, and I've been forced to listen to, for a brief time, she was into the pop music.
Yeah.
So we would listen to Sirius XM, like pop music station, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The worst song was that "Body Like a Back Road" song. Did you hear that one? It was like a modern country thing.
It's a country song, yeah.
Yeah. And I believe it or not, like country music is kind of what I like. Country rock is what I do. So I love that stuff, but man, that was the worst song I've heard in many years.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like with like a lot of the country that's out now is like actually like it's a pop song. It's not a country song.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
If you had anybody else sing it and put an electric drum beat behind it, it would be a pop song.
Yeah,
like a digital drum beat or whatever. If you did that, it'd be a pop song. Like there's no differentiating them now.
Well, it's just fascinating to me too. Like that songwriting teams are kind of the way it gets done now.
Oh yeah,
like 2 or 3 people get together in a room and they kind of construct a song. Like,
yeah,
I've noticed that songs these days are sort of like intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus.
Yeah.
You know, like the pre-chorus is like the new flavor of the month.
Dude, they have an easy bake oven for songs now. Like it's, you know, and that's not to say that they're all bad, but that's how it is. And I honestly, I don't think there's any problem with these songwriting teams. Like 2 heads are better than 1. Like,
yeah,
you can make a great song with 3 people, then go for it. You know, like,
yeah.
And but there are also now there's just like buckets of hit singles that are just waiting for like a face to grab them. You know what I mean? Like there's just stockpiles. Labels have stockpiles of hits that have been written that are not attached to any artist yet. And they're just waiting for that fresh face, you know? So that's how a lot of that stuff happens now too, though, which is kind of, you know, it kind of takes the excitement out of it for me. Like I think like there was a time where you would write your own hits and work your ass off and make it somewhere.
Yeah. And that was what I always, that was what drew me to music, was the writing songs and then, you know, working with a band of people and, you know, trying to make a good sound out of it.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of opportunities to do different things with music when I was in New York. But I always just kind of decided that I wanted to do my thing, and we'll just see where the chips land. And you know, back in the mid '90s, like the big record labels were still riding high off of grunge and everything else.
Yeah.
So what I do now, was then called alt country, and every major label at a certain point had to have their alt country band. Like they needed at least one. So we got kind of put in the mix, but ultimately nothing ever worked out. Like, you know, and then we got a great gig at a you know, one of those music conferences, and 2 people in the band quit. It's like, and I was not old enough at the time to be like, could you guys just like hang until we play that gig?
Yeah, right.
But
like after that, we could probably replace you pretty easily. So just hang out.
Yeah. I was just like, I would think I was like 24, 25 years old, and I was just like stunned and personally hurt and all the, you know. But nowadays, it's kind of like there definitely is that formula. Not that that's a bad thing per se.
No, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I like how far things have, like I can make something from start to finish without anybody else, and you would never know that it was made by one person. Like, I don't know if you've used any of the Tune Track stuff, but like Superior Drummer, fantastic. You would never know that wasn't a real drummer, like ever. Like things like that are crazy now. Like you do not need. It's kind of sad though too, because it's kind of like a lonely feeling. Like, you know, you used to like get together with like a group of people in like some sweaty garage and like do things like, you know, now it's just a guy behind a computer.
Right. Yeah, it's so I'm an addictive drums guy myself. and so I used that XLN stuff. But I actually I had a drum kit in my studio for a long time, but I ended up never playing it because the only time I would end up playing music would be like when the rest of the family is sleeping.
Yeah.
So I got an electronic drum kit and just decided that like that's what I'll do. So like I play a little bit of everything. I'm not like super great on any instrument, but I can get by relatively well on most things. But yeah, to answer the question that's up there, I was the lead vocalist, songwriter, you know, egomaniacal, narcissistic person in the band. Yes. That was me. So, but I mean, I've loved music since I was really young. I started singing. I think I learned my first song to sing all the way through when I was 3. It was we got a new car, and it had this factory 8-track cassette that had all kinds of like sort of some modern songs, some standards, and there was a song called "They Call the Wind Mariah," and I learned that in the trips back and forth to the grandparents, and then I was the the young trained seal that would get put up in front of the family to do this, and of course the second song I learned was "Take Me Home, Country Roads," because if you're going to be a singer in West Virginia, you can't not know that song. So yeah, I just kind of gravitated toward it. And then when I was 8, I saw those. Have you ever seen those Saturday morning Beatles cartoons from the 60s?
Yeah.
I had never heard of the Beatles until they started airing those on local TV, like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it just made my mind explode. I just never heard anything like it, and but yet it seemed like so right. And I just started saving my allowance, dollar a week allowance to go buy Beatles records. And that's cool. Yeah, and that was really either the best thing that ever happened to me or the worst thing that ever happened to me. depending on how you want to look at the outcomes.
I think that that same like sentence applies to just the entire world in reference to the Beatles.
Yeah. Yeah. I still think like if I had the choice to go back in time, I would want to go back and be like 16 years old in 1964 when the Beatles are on the Ed Sullivan Show, and then get to hear each record as it comes out without like the whole catalog.
Yeah.
Already being completely picked over. That's my wish, but it will never happen.
Well, as soon as time travel comes around, just don't talk to yourself. Don't run into yourself. You'll create some disruptions in
some sort of conflagration of
It's so bad.
Eugene asks, Fruity Loops, is that?
I love how that's what it used to be called, and everybody's like FL Studio, like it's no, it was Fruity Loops.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Or Logic. I have been a Logic user for a long time, since probably like 2003 or 4. But I have recently switched over to Studio One because I'm in the PC world at the moment. So and Studio One is pretty cool. It's another program I don't know how to use.
I've never used Logic ever. I've never used FL Studio except the iPad version, which is actually pretty cool for what it is. But I started out using Cakewalk from Sonar. It was an awesome program. It was great. It was still a great program, and then from there I went to Pro Tools, and I just haven't messed with anything else except for those two.
See, I started on Digital Performer, and then when Logic, I got Logic right, the iteration right before Apple bought them. So I was, and it was more of like a programming beats kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it was probably just the fact that it was cheaper than anything else at the time. I can't remember.
Well, Pro Tools was ridiculously expensive at the time,
and you got locked into hardware. And
yeah, you had to.
Yeah.
Now you don't. Like, that's amazing, but for a long while, that's how it was. And yeah. you were a minimum dropping like $300 to $400 on a piece of hardware that had the shittiest pre's in the world inside of it.
Yeah. And you didn't even get like the full Pro Tools version. You got like, you can use 16 tracks.
Yeah.
You know,
it was so ridiculous.
Only some of these plugins. I have used Pro Tools enough to, like, I don't know if you remember the Bomb Factory stuff that was in there. I was actually the producer of that record that I was talking about before. Was the guy who made those Bomb Factory plugins and sold them to Abbott. Yeah. So just strange little. But yeah, I was deep in the Apple ecosystem, and I had already bought Logic. And the great thing about Logic is you buy it that one time, and then you just get all the upgrades.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really stupid. I remember at one point I bought Pro Tools 9 or something. Like, it was the first, like, I like went out and paid full price for it, but I got it through like a student thing. So they gave me 4 years of free upgrades, or 4 versions of free upgrades, which actually just ended at 12 right now.
Yeah.
And you know how long it's been since from 9 to 12? Like, it's been a long time. So it was great. But now I just signed up. They have now that ended, I just switched to their subscription plan, because it's like $20 a month, and you get indefinite Pro Tools upgrades.
Yeah. I did that with the Slate Digital plugin suite. It's like $15 a month, and I figured I'd do it for a year and see if I liked it. But that's the thing, like, the Slate thing locks you in for a year, so you're really guaranteed to be paying like $200+. So
yeah, even Waves has a plugin, a subscription plan for their plugins now, and it's expensive. It's not like, it's almost not worth it at that point.
Yeah. So, Mark, who are you asking about the headphone jack? Are you asking Dom? Because I think everybody knows how I feel about the headphone jack. But
I mean, they should know how I feel, because I was in your video.
That's right. Yeah, but I was so excited for that video, and it just like it just didn't take off. And it's like,
man.
But there is a video that we made close to the first of the year with a bunch of YouTubers talking about whether or not the headphone jack should be classified as dead. And
I don't care, because I mean, there are two sides to it. One side is, okay, well, it's nice to have like a headset to talk on when I'm like on a call or something, but they give you the headphones to do that with in the box. And the other side is, if I want to listen to high fidelity music or anything, listen, I'm not doing that on a smartphone anyway. So
yeah. I see what you're saying. The thing that really irked me and has continued to irk me is that I think Apple sort of created a false. Yeah. They created their own market.
No, there's no reason for it to be gone. Like, it could fit in there.
Yeah. They say, but they were being courageous. I loved how they said that it was like, it's like you're talking on old telephones where the operators had to plug. It's nothing like that.
No, it's like, hey, Apple, you did a good thing by ditching the floppy drive, by ditching the CD-ROM drive, but this is a little over the line. Like, I like not having to worry about discs and like, things, and flash drives, and having to download stuff is so much better. But I mean, there's plenty of room on the bottom of this phone.
Yeah. And the one thing that I heard from people that had never occurred to me is like, if you want to charge your phone and you use wired headphones, you can't
Yeah.
do both at the same time.
There's an adapter for that.
There is. And I just got
Yes.
a new company just reached out to me and sent me one that has volume control and everything else. I don't know what the quality is going to be like, but I'm gonna look at it.
Well, Apple's own initially somebody from I don't know who it was, don't quote me, but it was like, oh, well, we sell these docks that you can plug your phone in, and then it has a jack on the back of the dock. You could use that. I'm like, so I'm gonna carry around this dock with me everywhere too.
Right. I mean, the docks are very cool, but they're also $60, I think.
And they're ridiculous.
I know, and it's just the thought of like plugging your headphones into something that's like pretty much going to be on like your nightstand or your dresser or something. Like, otherwise, I don't know. It's just crazy. Yeah, I think that, you know, Tech Free is right. This was my theory. Like, they paid $3 billion for Beats, and then they needed to recoup some of that investment. So they artificially created a market for wireless headphones, which, I mean, when was the last time Beats put out wired headphones?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is that they know what they're doing. Yeah. You know, like they definitely did that. That was an intentional thing, because, and they know too that once Apple does something, everybody else does it. How many notch phones have you seen that are coming out this year?
It's so
like 10 of them.
Yeah,
10
it's
notches.
Unbelievable. I mean, my you know, I've kind of got this little crush on LG, because I think they could make a great phone if they could figure out how to sell it. But they got a notch. Yeah. It's like, and
everybody has these notches. I just got the Huawei P20.
Yeah.
Notch. Like everything has a notch now, or it's gonna. You know, what's next year's thing gonna be? That's all I'm wondering now. Is like, what's next year's thing gonna be?
Yeah, I don't know. People have been asking me what I think the new iPhones are going to be all about, and I mean, I think we're going to get another iPhone 10 that's called something iPhone.
Well, this was like a beta test, to be honest. Yeah. Like, I mean, they launched this like after the other iPhones, and they even said we're launching this later. Like, this is the future now, or whatever kind of hype they fed us when they were doing the keynote. And I don't think much is going to change from this. I mean, I think that maybe they'll make the notch smaller.
Yeah, I would love it, just for the sake of watching everybody's reaction. I would love it if they just took the notch away entirely this year.
Right? Yeah.
And then everybody would, oh shit, we made notches. No.
I don't know what I mean, like, what are they going to do? Are they going to sell another, like an iPhone? Well, first of all, where the hell are they going to go after 10? That's what I want to know, because they skipped 9.
Yeah.
They went 7, 8, or it's just, I don't understand what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really they're not going to go 10S, obviously.
Well, that was what I just read an article earlier today that sort of there are more rumors floating around that seem to confirm that they are going to go with 3 phones this year, and there's going to be a 6.1-inch phone with an LCD screen, so kind of like a lower rent model.
Yeah.
And that's going to be potentially the iPhone 9. And then whatever comes out, so there's the 5.8-inch and the 6.5-inch that they're talking about. This article was saying that they would be called probably the 10S. But if you read it, it's the XS.
Yeah.
And
it's just confusing.
That's just too rich. I mean, if you're gonna call it the XS and you're making a 6.5-inch phone, that's comedy gold right there.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand, like what they're gonna do. I do like the idea of having a bigger one of these.
Yeah.
A bigger screen on this, because just the screen, how it's designed, you are getting a nice big screen here, but it could be it wouldn't be much bigger than this for a larger display. Like it'd be pretty nice. Like I would like that. And then obviously, yeah, they're going to keep what is now like the iPhone 8 Plus as like a newer model with an updated chip inside of it, basically, because a lot of people like the Plus phone as well. I'm pretty sure the standard 4.7-inch phone is their least selling phone now.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And I don't know. It's I think that their product strategy is totally whacked out right now.
It's bonkers. They don't even know. Nobody knows what they're doing over there.
They've got like 8 phones out right now. It's like, and you wonder why the iPhone 10 that you put $1,000 price tag on didn't sell as well as you thought it would, when you had the same phone in a slightly different form factor with $300-400 less.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand what they're doing with I don't think Steve Jobs would sell eight iPhones at once, you know?
It's a lot of phones.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the thing they did with the Mac Pro the other day, the new modular Mac Pro that's slated to come out now in 2020 or 2019 or something.
Right.
Because they had announced it last year at when did they announce? Somebody said something. One of the guys gave an interview. I don't know what it was, but
it was the iMac event when they
yeah, and they were like next year, and so that's this year now, and now they're like, no, next year. Yeah. Not this year, next year, 2019.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they missed that date though.
Well,
but the thing is they realized probably that it would cannibalize their sales of that guy back there, the iMac Pro. Or that nobody would buy the Mac Pro because everybody bought one of those because they had no pro computer for like since 2013.
Well, but yet they're still selling the trash can Mac Pro for $3,000.
Which I don't understand that. Like, I would not buy that computer. I personally, if it wasn't for just like doing this stuff for like a job, I wouldn't have bought that computer either, you know?
Yeah.
I just build PCs all day because it's cheaper, like, and better. Like, I can make a much better, you know, computer to do a lot more stuff on building a PC than I can buying a Mac.
Right.
But
and that's kind of where I ended up sitting, was like, I want a powerful machine, but to get the powerful machine that I want, I've got to put out like $2,500, or, you know, like the iMac Pro was not in my wheelhouse at all this year. So it's $2,500 or $1,000 less than that to get the same, or usually even more power from a PC.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, so if you're crunching videos, I know that Final Cut is super optimized for Mac OS.
It is. I mean, it does work very well.
Yeah.
I have to say that.
Yeah, but I don't know. Right now I'm on the PC bandwagon just because I can get more for my money.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
Yeah. And they're still selling the Mac Mini that was last refreshed in 2014 or 15?
Yeah, it's old. I don't even understand why that's around either. And I feel like we have the technology where they could make it as small as like the Apple TV.
Yeah. And
that would be so awesome if they had a Mac Mini that was that small.
Yeah.
I mean, they have components small enough to do it now, but
well, and the thing about the Mac Mini is there was a time when the Mac Mini was like the secret greatest value in computers.
Oh yeah, no, because I have videos on upgrading those things too.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could upgrade the RAM, you could upgrade the storage on it. You could swap with the hard drives for SSDs. You can get a dual SSD kit or dual hard drive kit and put 2 hard drives inside of that sucker. And there were so many things that you could do with that little computer. I had like a whole series on like building the ultimate Mac Mini. Yeah. And it was the greatest value in the world.
Yeah, and and then they discovered that everybody was like, oh, I can make this into a better computer than what they're selling as a
Yeah.
or whatever. So they completely dumbed that line down.
Yeah.
Just
And they
crap
soldered everything
components
down.
and soldered everything to the motherboard. Like,
Yep.
it's a 5,400 RPM hard drive that you can't take out.
Dude, that was, I mean, I even remember with the MacBook Pros that they had, the old school ones. I have videos on that too, where I would take it apart. I'd remove the CD-ROM drive and I'd put a hard drive in there. They had they had a little adapter kit for it that it fit in the same little spot that the optical drive was in. And you could put that in there, upgrade your RAM. So you'd have like dual like drives in your computer now, and you can't do any of that anymore. No. Sucks.
And I was excited when the 27-inch iMac this year, they were letting you upgrade the RAM. I was like, wow, we can put RAM sticks into it.
Yeah.
And not have to pay $300 per 128 gigs or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, but not with the $5,000 machine behind me.
That's the crazy thing.
Not a pro. Pros don't want to upgrade things.
No, pros want everything to be completely sealed.
Regular people, my grandma wants to upgrade her RAM. That's okay.
I know, and they'll say it's because of the new cooling, whatever. But it's just like, no, it's not.
No,
because they want you to buy the RAM. They want you to buy the RAM.
Yeah, because it's ECC RAM, and they can charge boatloads of money for it.
Right. Yeah. Right. If the time came where buying one of those wouldn't put me in, in the poorhouse, I probably would. But at this time,
yeah,
I just think that Apple is sort of, in many ways, they are kind of floundering with product strategy.
Oh yeah,
and it's always kind of been that way, but now they've just got, we'll just make more bigger phones, and we'll make this one in gray and charge 3 times as much for it.
Yeah, and you get I feel like such a sucker because I'm using it, but a black lightning cable.
Yeah,
like I'm actually using it to charge my phone right now, but
it's weird though, because like Apple is fetishized enough that things like the black lightning cable and the black keyboard and trackpad and mouse and all that, I mean, people are willing to spend the extra money.
Yeah, it's an extra $20 to get a black keyboard over a white one.
Yeah,
from Apple.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
but they've learned how to fetishize their products so that everybody's like, oh, I gotta have it.
You know what though? I mean, yeah, it's stupid, but I can't hate on their business strategy right there, because like if I was in business, I'd want something to be like that too,
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have definitely, like, their brand identity they more sell their brand identity than their products, and so it's a lifestyle product at this point.
Well, and I bet that that company Colorware.
Yeah.
I bet they got pissed off at Colorware for making white keyboards space gray, because they were totally doing it when they found out that the iMac Pro was the only thing that came with those peripherals.
Right.
They just started painting the keyboards, and Apple was probably like, oh no, you don't. They flipped the switch and made it happen.
Yeah. Well, Colorware, I mean, they do the freaking do anything, right? The AirPods.
They'll paint anything.
There's no way I'm paying $250, $300 for a set of AirPods.
No. It's barely stomachable at $159.
Yeah, I mean, I really like them because
they're handy.
They're the most convenient headphones that I've ever had in terms of just like ease of use and everything else. But they're middle of the road sounding headphones.
No, I mean, they have like a penny's worth of like Chinese speakers inside of them, and they're obviously they're shaped to when put in your ear take advantage of like the acoustics that happen there, from like a science perspective and stuff, and like an engineering perspective. But other than that, yeah, I mean, they're not. Go to Alibaba and order some knockoff ear pods, and they'll have the same sound.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do think that a lot of people don't know that the ear pods were developed, like when they developed those to replace the old earbuds, which were like terrible, the worst thing ever. That they did all that acoustic stuff. That's why they have the long tail and stuff. So you've got chambers in there that are resonating for better bass, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a lot of research that went into that.
No, they probably poured millions of dollars into figuring that out.
Yeah.
Like as far as R&D goes, because for the crappy like components they have inside of them, they're actually, they're much better than you would have ever expected them to be. Like, from coming from somebody like you, who's obviously like used like a lot of high end headphones and stuff before, they're much better than anybody ever thought they were going to be.
Right. And I just did a video about the Samsung earbuds, which, they are better than they have any right to be for just, they put the AKG logo on there, but I still don't know what tuned by AKG means. Does that mean it's like, since when did we tune headphones?
Yeah, I think it's just an EQ preset that they slap on the, internally, like that's what it means. Right. But let's be honest, it's nothing special. It's just a scoop.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good sounding EQ curve, and that's it,
Yeah.
But I will say that Samsung, that sort of adaptive sound stuff that they have in there, like I did a profile for myself where my left ear is like really, really bad.
Yeah.
My right ear is like hovering over just like middle of the road. and it definitely sounded better when I applied that profile that I made.
Yeah.
And I knew that my left ear was worse than my right, but I didn't know how much. And I don't know how scientific that is, but it was pretty shocking. So let's check some more questions here. Samuel James, Dom, what could you tell Jason about where you are now at your level on YouTube versus where Jason is? What are his future expectations and best way for him to move forward?
Well, let me tell you how to move forward here and what your future expectations. No, I mean, to be honest, like where you're at and where I'm at are pretty much the same aside from the numbers behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing the same thing. I don't know. Like
you've got a slightly better production value than I do.
I mean, but at the end of the day, production value means nothing. I do the production value thing because it's just enjoyable for me. It's not because I know it makes your videos watched more, because that's not true at all. I know people that are using a Logitech C920 and getting millions of views per video.
Yeah.
So production does not matter.
Boogie 2988. I mean, he's exclusively on a 920. And
there you go.
Maybe that's working for him, but
production don't matter.
Yeah, it's true, and that's the thing. Like, having never really thought that I would, never really put much thought into the fact that I would be in this area where I'm like, I guess, kind of a mid-level YouTuber. I don't know. It feels to me like the thing to do is just grind, like make more videos, try and find new things to do, build skills.
That's basically it. Grind.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna have many days where I get 1,400 new subscribers, but it exponentially goes up. Like 8 months ago, I was getting like 30 or 40 subscribers a day, and right now I'm getting around 100 as a ballpark. And so it's just math at that point. like I'd like to hit 50,000 before the fall. I don't know if that'll happen, but
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, you'll see another one of those little waves again, where it just starts. And that's how it is. It just, it's like a roller coaster. It comes and goes, and you'll see one of those waves again where you might double your number again.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it was so weird because I had start of 2017. I had just over 2,000 subscribers, and then it just kind of, I was building pretty well. Like in the fall of 2017, I changed the name of the channel to Painfully Honest Tech, and it started to grow from there in little bits and pieces. So, you're right. It's like all exponential, but the only thing you can do really is try and be smart and learn as much as you can, and then make videos, put them out, So I'm trying to learn about the
I love this comment. Somebody's like, Dom's pink room versus JTL's Queen video floating head style.
Yeah. Well, I've got the Philips Hue bulbs going on back here too.
I can make them not pink. If anybody's offended by pink, I can change it.
It's totally fine. Maybe I should try pink. Yeah, maybe I should. I don't.
Maybe, yeah.
I've got actually Philips Hue bulb over here is pink, and the one below it is a light fuchsia. So but it's funny. Like people do comment on the fact that I like all my videos are so dark. And that's just the way that I like to do it. It was really hard to figure out how to light a room and get like a sort of cone of darkness around just my head,
Yeah.
It took me a long time to figure out how to do it, and I don't know. I still don't know if I've totally figured it out, but that was
pretty dark over there.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've got like I think 8 Philips Hue bulbs in here, and they're all on right now. But I've also got a lot of black curtains. So
yeah.
That was when I decided to move my studio into the basement. Like the basement is quasi finished, so I was just like, well, I don't want to look at these like brick stamped walls that are just painted white. Because it's kind of prison like, so I just put up black curtains everywhere. So so we got another Sam question. He's asking, Dom, how do you feel about the 8 Plus at this point and the direction iPhones are going with home buttons?
I think the home button thing, I mean, I don't know. I don't really care about the button anymore. That honestly, like, I internally made that way more of a bigger deal than it actually ended up being. I thought losing the button was the end of the world, more than the headphone jack. Even I was like, you can't take the button. That is the button. Like what else am I supposed to? How am I supposed to go home? But the flip side of that is now every single phone I get, I try to swipe up to go home.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I do the same thing. I do this.
Don't copy the notch, guys. Copy the gestures.
Exactly. And I've tried to explain that in some videos before. Like I made a video a while back about how the gesture input that Apple's using is really kind of a big deal because it totally changed the way people interact with the phone.
Yeah.
And Android is still based on a home button kind of idea where you have that button and it's there all the time. I know that people were kind enough to let me know how many other companies had gesture-based inputs in the past. And it's like, how do you know so much about like the minutia of cell phone history? Because I was there and I don't remember it. See, Palm Pre, that's another one. And I think there was either an LG or a Nokia phone.
I had a Palm Pre for a minute, actually.
Yeah.
I had one of those.
I had the clear Palm Pilot. It was like clear plastic. so you could see all the insides. And I thought I was like the biggest deal with that.
Oh yeah, I had a Game Boy like that. It was awesome.
Yeah,
clear Game Boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to clear anything, you can go order the shell on the internet and swap it out yourself.
I know, or you could just get jerry-rig everything to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that guy is meticulous. I got to give it to him. He's really good at what he does.
You have to be.
Yeah.
To do. I would never. I can't do that level of opening. I could probably replace a screen, but that's about it.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's take one more question, and then we'll kind of start to wrap up. Dan Miller, what do you have as tech reviewers? What question do you get asked that you just have an autopilot answer for, as you are sick of or are you sick of answering?
Like from who though? Are we talking from fans or from like people in my life? There are two different questions there.
Well, maybe you just have to tell us both then.
Well, the one everybody asks, like everybody that watches, my channel, if I run into somebody or I'm at an event or whatever, is, how do you do this? Like, how do you get there? And I'm not sick of answering it, but there is kind of a canned answer to it. Like, yeah, oh, you want to start YouTube, like start doing it. That's true. Like everybody's always like, I so badly, I want to do this thing or whatever, but they never do the thing. They just keep thinking about how badly they want to do the thing. Yeah. And then so it's like, you gotta just do it. Like, at least if you do it and failed, you can say that you did it.
Yeah. Yeah. But what is failing really?
Well, failing is only tools to be, you're gaining more tools to be successful.
Right.
When you fail. Like if you fail at something, well, now you know not what not to do,
Right. Yeah. And I think like we were talking about before, YouTube in specific is sort of this just totally rare bird where there is no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
You make a video and you can upload it from your phone and
literally,
and it's done.
We could have done this whole live stream from our phones.
I know. And I know people who do live stream straight from their phones.
Yeah.
And so the technology is amazing. The ability that even if you have like an older phone, phones have been camera-wise so good for long enough that anybody could do it. So I always get I'm always kind of surprised by people who say like, oh well, I can't get comfortable on camera, and that just seems weird to me. But I mean, I understand what it is. I understand that, like, staring at the camera and the techniques that you have to use to be good at it and blah blah blah. Like, but I'm in my basement, like, talking at the camera. There's no pressure. Like,
yeah. Well, the great thing is there's nobody standing in front of you judging you. All the judgment happens afterwards, and you can ignore the judgment.
Yeah, I know. So what's the other question from the?
The other one is from normal people, like in my life, are always asking like, how do you make money doing that? That's like that's the question that everybody wants to know. If I ever meet somebody or I'm, or whatever, introduce to somebody or blah, 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 and it comes up, that's the question they have. How are you making money doing this? And and it's just I honestly, at the end, like most of the time now, if I meet somebody or whatever, and they ask what I do, I just tell them that I'm a video producer or I run a video production company, because that's so much easier to explain than work on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, if I say video production company, they're like, oh, people hire him to make videos.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, it's almost the same thing on YouTube, but.
Yeah. I'm just now at the point where people kind of know that my YouTube channel has gotten more successful than just like kind of a little side thing.
Yeah.
So their question would be like, yeah, so do you make any money doing that? And And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I make some money, but at this point, it's not like, quit my job kind of money.
Dude,
And
it's crazy though, but it's getting, it's like you're moving in a positive direction. Like
yeah,
that's all you can ask for.
no, absolutely. Like I I learned this from writing novels. Like there's like the short arc and the long arc. So if I sit down and write every day, I don't have to worry about anything but the fact that I did that writing that day. And
Yeah.
if I do it every day, then I'll end up with a book. And then the book starts another life after that. And it's the same thing with YouTube videos. Like if I spend the time to make the videos and I put them up, some will be viewed more, some will not be, or whatever. But it's just the process
Yep.
of continuing to do it.
You gotta you gotta keep dude. There's been like this stint of videos on the channel for some reason. I don't know what it is. I'm not blaming YouTube or blaming sub boxes or whatever. I don't know what it is. It's just something changed, and like my videos have been getting like considerably less views for like the last month or so.
Right.
But whatever, I don't care. What am I gonna do? Like either I'm gonna bitch about it and I'm gonna give up, or I'm just gonna keep doing my thing. You know what I mean? Like what else am I gonna do? Like you can't let those things drag you down because like at the end of the day, I put videos on the internet and I get to open up cell phones. Like, am I really gonna complain? You know, like
yeah, it's I think that the average person doesn't understand that it can be a business.
Yeah.
And so when you tell them like, yeah, I'm making a little bit of money or I make my living at it or whatever, it just doesn't compute because for most people think of YouTube as like silly viral videos or
cat videos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's and that's one thing that I love about YouTube is the fact that it has all these little pocket communities of people who are into stuff. Like when I started to get more views and get out there a little bit more, it was really cool to have folks that I like yourself that I'd been watching for years, like then reach out to me and sort of slowly become part of that community. That was really great because the opposite could always be really true as well.
Yeah. And we all have those moments throughout like our like YouTube growth. Like I mean I had the similar moments with other people and stuff. Right. And like so, yeah, I know how that is. And it's like it's so weird, man. Like this whole thing is just so weird. Like I think about the fact that like as a full-time job, I've been doing this since 2013.
Right.
That is freaking bonkers. Like for real though. Like that's, I mean, almost 6 years I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And it's been my day-to-day job. And at the time back then, it only took, it took like a couple of years to get to that point, maybe like a year and a half. But I also like had played it smart to where and revenue was I'll tell you straight up, revenue was so different back then. Like in the couple of years that I was doing the YouTube videos initially, I had saved up enough of 1 year's worth of salary at my radio job. And that's why I quit. I quit because I had saved up a salary's worth of income for myself. And I said, I'll give it a year.
Right.
And in 2013, I quit and I had that safety net, and I didn't end up needing it. I started busting my ass and hustling. And like you said, just like on the grind all the time. And
yeah, well, it's, like guys like Drew from Talos of Tech, he just turned 20 years old and he just decided like he was going to college, I guess. And he just said, you know what, I'm getting some momentum on this thing. So I'm just going to put all my effort into it. And it's working for him. If I was 20 years old and I had this kind of momentum, I'd do the same thing.
Oh my gosh. If this was around when we'd all be like stupid, like up there somewhere. If this was around when when I had like that kind of like, not that I don't have a drive now, but you know, when you're younger like that, it's like, because I'm 32, so like,
right.
And even just then, I would have crushed it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I was doing it with bands because that was a thing that you did then. I don't know if it is now anymore, but
yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is like the engineering side of things. I mean, I've played in bands and stuff before too, but like I more so loved making other people's stuff sound amazing.
Right.
Like, and just to do stuff like that. And yeah, so you're always doing something for like somebody else. And like
right.
Now it's weird growing a business that's actually like something that you're doing, like, you know, for yourself, essentially. I mean, obviously we do it because people watch it, and that's the golden part about this, is like the interaction and all that. But like doing it something that you want to do for you, that ultimately helps you move to a better place, like you know, building a business or like having a different career path or whatever. I don't know. It's bonkers, man.
Yeah.
All of it.
So, I mean, I guess to go back to the question, my answer, I don't really have an autopilot answer for this, but I'm starting to get a little frustrated getting the question. Like, there's a certain people, like I made all those headset videos, and I like to make them, and I often try and help people out, but folks will come on like a video completely not related to the headphones and be like, hey, my blank headset won't work. What should I do?
Yeah.
Like,
you're like, I don't troubleshoot things.
Yeah. And that's the one thing,
but
you know, it's like, Google is your friend, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because then you don't want to feel like a dick or something. Like you're like, you don't want to like turn everybody away and not answer a question. So you answer one or two here, but then it's like everybody's like, oh, this guy, he's gonna help every single. No, you know, I'm sorry, I can't run tech support for 460,000 people.
Right.
I just can't. Like, there's not enough manpower here.
Yeah, and well, even where I am, like there was a time when I was getting enough comments, questions, et cetera, that I probably did and could deal with them and like answer people and try and help out. But at this point, with the number of comments and questions that I get, like if it's a specific question that I can answer quickly, but if it's just like, this doesn't work,
yeah,
then it's hard. But so it's not that I hate that or I'm sick of it. It's just I wish there was a way that people could find those answers without just like randomly asking me on like a different video. But,
yep. Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
So I have we'll finish up with this. I have a little addendum to this question. Like,
cool.
Because I think about this because I'm old. Like, what do you see as like a future trajectory for you as a content creator? Do you see like what do you see that as over like the span of say a decade?
I mean, as a content creator, I mean, I would love to keep creating content, obviously. But really, like right now, and this might sound bad, but sometimes it's okay to live in the moment. Right now, my plan is to invest, save money, and ride the wave. That's it. Like, I mean, that's all I can do. And when, like I said earlier, when it crashes and burns, because everything does eventually, then I will start a video production company.
Right. Yeah. I think about it because I'm like 46 years old, and you know I've got a real job, and I could do my job until I retire, grab my retirement, and you know I do everything that I want to do.
Yeah.
And the one thing about YouTube, like you said, is that like you don't know what it's going to be at any given time, so you can't really think about it. But
yeah, I mean, it's not going to go away. Let's be real here. It is the second largest search engine in the world. It will change, and it may evolve to the point to where something that we do is not applicable on the platform. I could see that happening before it disappearing. Right. I could see it turning into more of like a Netflix situation, to be honest. Like if I really think about it, like their business models are heading that way already. YouTube Red, the original content, things like that. So I could see that happening, not for a while, but something will happen to where what I do right now is not the acceptable thing on this platform. But until then, like I said, all you can do is save your money and enjoy what's happening and right now.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a good place for us to call it a podcast. And, and finish up. Thanks to everybody who's been in here, Dan Miller, Tech for Your Needs, all you guys, Tarek, who've been here before and come back again and again for some reason. I really do appreciate it. I want to say thanks to Dom for being here and being a great guest. Wide-ranging conversation.
It was pretty wide-ranged.
All kinds of stuff that I love. So thanks, everybody. Really do appreciate you being here. Once again, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest, it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.
Peace.
All right. So we